are in Les Assises pour la Palestine in Pantin on the 5th of April 2025. Since the 7th of October 2023, the situation in Palestine is dramatic. Indeed, more than 50,000 people have been killed according to the Palestinian Information Center. Amongst them, more than 210 journalists, including 30 women journalists, have been killed. The situation in the West Bank is also very difficult, as the population and the journalists are often harassed by the settlers. In this context, Palestine is the most dangerous place on earth for journalists. This is why we meet today with Wafa Rahman. Hello, Wafa Rahman. Thank you for being with us today. You were born and raised in Gaza. In 2005, you created the NGO Filastiniyat, which supports women journalists and young journalists in general. You're also the editor-in-chief of Now News Agency. Could you please present us the NGO Filastiniyat and the Now News Agency?
So Filastiniyat was founded in 2005, as you said, in Ramallah as the headquarters. In 2009, we founded our office in Gaza. And in 2009, we created our first women journalist club. Today, we have almost 600 members of women journalists in Gaza and almost 300 members in the West Bank. We have been providing all kinds of support to women journalists from trainings, capacity building, safe space and safe venue for them to express themselves, in addition to job creation, an annual conference, psychological support. And from that point, we also extended to other journalists, male journalists. Ever since we've been working in Gaza and also in the West Bank, providing almost the same services. We created Now News Agency late 2012, and it was about providing a women's discourse into the media, but as well as providing job opportunities for women journalists. In addition, we also work with young university students. We train them on debates, and we provide media initiatives, financial media initiatives for them.
Why is it important for a society to have women journalists, and especially for the Palestinian society?
Being a feminist organization, it's a political decision that an organization can take. Because Filastiniyat is not a women's organization, it's a feminist organization. So it's about the approach, it's about the analysis, it's about the structural analysis that we provide. And this is why we say we're not a news-led organization, we're actually, or news-oriented, we're story-oriented. We tell the story behind the news that you see in the mainstream media and the conventional media. And we provide the stories with a woman's perspective. Why it's important? It's important because we believe that we're closer to our society and to our people. We sense the problems, we sense the feelings, we sense the needs, the challenges, but we also sense the joy when there is joy there. So we are more capable of reporting the society, the whole society, and not only women. So in our reporting and the way we work with our journalists and train them, it's not only to be gender sensitive, no. It's also to focus on marginalization. And this what gave Now, which is our news agency, that gave us credibility and good reputation back home. We believe in a patriarchal society, like the Palestinian society, especially when we talk politics and the political system, we're ignored. Our views are ignored. The leadership doesn't see us as women. So in order to influence and advocate, we're using media as a tool, and we're voicing our voices through the reports, the stories that we produce. And I think during genocide, it proved to be the best way of also telling the stories of Gaza to the whole world. It's true that we translate our stories into English so the world can understand the language. But for instance, we decided from day one that we maintain our ethics in reporting. And this is not because of the internationals. It's a way of respecting our society and respecting the victimization of our society and respecting the stories of the society. You don't have to see blood to know it's genocide. You don't have to see parts of children flying in the sky to say it's a crime. You don't have to see that, but we tell it differently. We tell it like a mother that tells the story of her son, or a woman that talks about herself and what she has been through. I think we need more feminist media organizations to be vocal, brave, to challenge the system, to challenge the prevailing politics. I hope other international media will take the same position that we're taking locally.
Could you please describe the conditions in which Palestinian journalists work and how they are targeted by the Israeli army and judicial system?
Let me be biased. Being a Gazan myself, working in Gaza for so long now, I would like to talk about journalists in Gaza who are enduring genocide, yet they continue to report. It wasn't easy from day one, and from day one, we tried to continue our reporting, but first of all, for our staff, who are women actually in Gaza, our priority was to make sure that they're safe. So we told them, don't report, don't do anything, just take care of yourselves and your families. And then we started communicating with the broader community of journalists that we work with. But again, we were scared because it was really scary. 7th of October, 8th of October, 9th of October, they couldn't send us any footages. So we relied on voice messages on WhatsApp and messages that they send us. And in Ramallah, with my team, we will work on producing their stories and what they have been through. Majority of them, they took refuge. They had their tents near the hospitals because, one, the hospitals were supposedly safe, one, and second, all the bodies and all the injuries, the first-hand information you will get from the hospitals because everybody is moving the bodies to the hospitals. So that was the most convenient place for them to report from. But then reporting from hospital or media, all media outlets, international and regional, they took care of their male reporters. And then we found out that our women reporters, no one is taking care of them. No tents were established for them. They had to report and sleep in their cars or in their colleagues' cars. It was disastrous. So the intervention that we provided for women reporting from hospitals to provide a tent, special tent for them, and provide them with hygiene kits and dignity kits, etc. And later on, warm clothes and jackets to enable them to report. But what's more important, not the first period, when I say first period, it means like not the first 2 weeks, but later everybody had to evacuate their homes, so they evacuated with very little stuff. And then majority were in Khan Yunis and Rafah, and then we had to evacuate Rafah. So according to our study, it's almost 98% of our journalists evacuated at least one time. And majority of those, they evacuated their homes and shelters between 5 and 10 times. 15% of them, they evacuated more than 15 times. So they carry very little. We're talking about 600 members of their families that were lost. Majority, they lost their homes, their workplaces. But worse than that, this is like the material loss. The 210 people that we lost during this genocide. But you know what was worse? What was worse, that the international media didn't believe them. And they had to prove that what you see on the screen is real blood. It's not ketchup. And they had to prove that the rockets and bombs that is raining over their heads, it kills them. And it's not a joke, and it's not a play. That was the most not problematic, disastrous part of the work. I remember Noor Harazin, she's a journalist with one child. Noor was reporting from Al-Aqsa Hospital in Deir al-Balah, middle areas of Gaza. And in her live broadcast, she saw so many bodies of children. So in the live broadcast for her channel, she collapsed. She was crying and she couldn't continue. She was talking about a massacre against children. And the lobby were lobbying and attacking the channel and attacking the journalist, demanding that the channel fires her because she lies and there weren't children in that massacre at that time. Her channel asked her to prove it. She had to go to the tent of bodies, the corpse, to open the bags and to take photos of every child that was killed in that particular massacre. This is number 1, number 2, number 3. I don't think any journalist can handle that. Any journalist, I don't think any journalist should be put in such situation to prove it's a massacre and people and children were the victims of that massacre. But yeah, this is an example of what our journalists have been enduring and living in the past 18 months.
As mentioned earlier, more than 210 journalists have been killed. Behind those cold numbers, there are humans who were killed with a story, with a family. Would you accept to share with us the story of a journalist that was killed?
Maybe I know one third, like personally know one third of those who have been targeted and killed. I'll start with Salam Mima. Salam was a mother for 3 children. Her husband was a journalist as well. And that was the 2nd week of the genocide. Their house was bombarded. Salam was under the rubble. We didn't know if she was dead or not. The information that we got that her husband died immediately and she was under the rubble, and people were hearing her voice calling for assistance to get out, and they were hearing her children crying. She had Ali, Hadi, and a daughter, Sham. I remember them very well. It's a beautiful family. I think they stayed under the rubble for a few days. I think they were alive, but no one was able to take them out. But then when they reached them, that was after 3-4 days, all of them were killed, but the little boy, Ali, was 3 years old, who sustained burns and was taken to live with his aunt, his mother's sister, who's a journalist as well. I sent him medicine for the burns because there weren't any medicine in Gaza. And Ali is still asking and questioning where his mother and his other siblings are. So that was the first shock for us, with a journalist that we know, and she was part of our club, to lose. And then we started like hearing other stories of other journalists, and when you know them personally, it's completely different than hearing a name and not really learning about the story. And then was Rushdie Sarraj. Rushdie worked with us on a very fantastic project where we were working with youth journalists, and the COVID-19 happened. Rushdie was fantastic, very creative, very energetic. He's a young man who has started his own media initiative, iReMMO. This is the name, the media company. And he lost, during the March of Return, one of his main staffers, Yasser Mortaja. So his house was attacked and he was killed. His wife, Shuruq, who's a journalist as well, she had to carry him to the hospital. Unfortunately, he died. He was killed. We continued to work with iReMMO because they're young journalists, very enthusiastic, and they want to change the world. So we started working on a campaign for Filastiniyat, and iReMMO has produced a film that was never concluded. It was done by Mahmoud Sarraj and Shuruq Al-Aili. Shuruq is Rushdie's wife, and Mahmoud is her brother-in-law, and they were working on this film on journalists and the attacks on journalists. And before we concluded the film, Mahmoud, who actually took the pictures of most of the scenes in the film, he was targeted 2 weeks ago and was killed. We have few photos for him downstairs in the exhibition. So Mahmoud was single, but was full of life. He had lots of plans. Shuruq, who's still alive, and I hope she will continue to live till we meet. But Rushdie, with all the dreams and with all the sophisticated work, I think we lost a talent. We lost not only a human being, but I think he could have contributed very much to the media scene. So we lost Rushdie. And I can tell you more about so many lives that were lost in this genocide. And each of them has a story, has a family. Most importantly, all of them, with no exception, they had dreams that were assassinated with them.
How do you analyze the situation in Palestine now and the reaction of the international community?
The international community has been failing Palestinians over and over and over again for more than 70 years. The international law, the international organizations were failing us. They couldn't recognize apartheid, but maybe after 20 or more years of we Palestinians shouting, it's apartheid, it's apartheid. They couldn't lift the siege on Gaza for 18 years. People were dying inside Gaza. Life was drained out of Gaza under the siege, and no one could do anything, and everybody was watching. They couldn't provide justice for Palestinians who have been killed by the Israeli army as well as the settlers. So I think we managed to endure all that and believe that one day the system will wake up, the governments will wake up, and the international system will revise or evaluate its performance and decides one day to provide justice for Palestinians. But in the contrary, what happened during genocide, they failed us more and more and more. And today, our death is being broadcasted live on TVs. So they know, they see. They know we're starved to death. They know the bombs that were dropped and still dropping on Gaza is like 2 or 3 nuclear weapons or bombs. They know that families have been wiped from the face of the earth. They know that we're losing children, women to starvation. They know that our injured people, they don't have any kind of drugs or medicine to operate, for the doctors to operate on them or to provide whatever primitive medicine that they have. The world knows, so it's not about the knowledge, it's about the political will to make a decision to hold Israel accountable. The court has ruled that Netanyahu and Gallant and the Israeli military and political leaders, they're war criminals. So what? Who's going to implement? The governments will not arrest them, and every day we're hearing new failure from a government that they will not arrest, and they are inviting a war criminal to their countries. So the whole world is failing the Palestinians, and I can see the despair, I can see the frustration. I tell you, during the Eid, I called my family to check on them, but also to congratulate them for the Eid when there is no celebration whatsoever. I didn't dare to ask what did they eat. I was afraid to ask because I know the answer. And even if they tell me that they eat nothing or they ate, I don't know, lentil soup, what can I do? Nothing. So I didn't ask. And I think this applies to majority of the people who have families and friends in Gaza. We don't know what to tell them. But what's very strange, that the Gazans would ask us, how are you? And don't stay on TVs, don't follow the news all the time. Try to get out and get some fresh air. Take your daughter out. You cannot believe that you're getting the hope and the strength from those who are under the killing machine by the second. And for me, if there is any people on earth deserve to live in dignity, it's the Gazans in particular. For how much they love life, how much they long for it, how much they would seize every tiny opportunity to celebrate it when there is nothing to celebrate. So on one hand, I'm very frustrated that I'm not seeing a very close stop for the genocide. But on the other hand, I keep my hopes up because of the people, because of their resilience, because of their fight for life and their plight for justice. I think I put a lot of hope.
As you mentioned earlier, the Western media have been very criticized for their coverage of the situation in Palestine. While you're in Paris now, and as a journalist, do you have a message for them?
The French media, the international media, also failed the Palestinians. First, the dehumanization of Palestinians is unprecedented. But that wasn't only yesterday. It's been going on for decades. When they accept the Israeli propaganda, we are the human animals, where they accept the Israeli propaganda and narrative that Palestinians beheaded 40 children, babies, or raped women. They accepted the narrative without questioning, without fact-checking, nothing, and it felt like the media was actually participating in the genocide, not by being silent. No, no, no. The media took side. And they were part of the military Israeli machine against Palestinians. They didn't look at the incitement that the Israeli journalists are conducting. They only look at the Palestinian journalists, accusing them of being biased or not professional. They didn't take a stand to pressure Israel to let them in. Israel doesn't let journalists in, yet they let international aid workers into Gaza, so why not journalists? Don't you get it? They don't want you to see. They don't want you to report the truth. Don't take sides. Go inside, see by yourself. So pressure Israel, pressure your government to let you in so you can see for yourself. Consider the Palestinian journalist a human being. This person is a colleague of yours, is a co-worker. You don't support your colleagues. So it was a failure, but I'm saying it's never too late. And those mistakes, terrible mistakes that sometimes amount to crimes, can be fixed in a way that start talking about the Palestinians. Talk about your colleagues, about the journalists. Extend hands to them. Connect with the Gaza journalists. Ask them how they live. Only report the lives of journalists if you don't want to report the lives of women and children in Gaza. You have a lot to do, and I think history will judge all of us. And your children in the future will ask you, what have you done to stop a genocide that was happening and live streaming on your screen? I think they should take the responsibility and they should act. They haven't acted before, but it's never too late. They can act today.
You mentioned earlier the impact on mental health of one of your colleague journalists. What is the impact on the mental health of the Palestinians of what has been going on for decades now, colonization, and since the 7th of October?
I think when it comes to mental health, all Palestinians, whether inside Gaza or outside, I think we all need to get psychological support and long-term psychological support. The traumas that we have been living for decades, the nightmares that people have, the fears. People are afraid of everything. I was afraid while crossing the bridge. I'm always afraid that one of the raids will cause me a high price. While I'm in Ramallah, I'm not in Gaza. I'm afraid to hear something might have happened to my family. I think every Palestinian has this feeling. But the complexity of the situation, because we had to suppress our traumas. We had to pretend that we're okay. And we had to pretend that we love life and life must go on. And the world is facing us with this thing, like, we don't want to listen to you. We hardly can see you because your issue is very complicated. The Palestine-Israel question is very complicated. So you feel the suppression that happened since you were born. So I think the psychological or the mental health of Palestinians could be described as complicated. And I don't think the psychologists all over the world are expert enough to address the traumas that we have been enduring for decades. But I think with the Gaza genocide, I think new approaches, new understanding, new research should be done in order to find the right way to address it and help people get over it. But you cannot get over it if the genocide is not over, if the reconstruction is not starting, if the hope is not restored, if it's stolen from you. This is for Gaza, but also for the West Bank, which is facing a slower genocide, unseen, underreported genocide. I think it also needs the same treatment as Gaza, because they will reach the Gaza point at one point. So it's a matter of addressing everything that has to do with science, with research, with medicine in a new way, because what was before Gaza genocide would never be the same as after Gaza genocide. So we need like the whole world to have its revolution, where Gaza is the starting point and hopefully not the end point of to be like as if no one can address it and no one can cure the people and help them.